Hey guys, Vladimir here with Desktop Mix. I've got a quick 5-minute Fusion 360 tutorial for you today. And so today's tutorial comes because of a question that came to me from my Fusion 360 Next Level course. And in that course, one of the designs we make is a soap mold. And so you see here, it's a 2-part mold. The back plate on it is customizable where you can create text here and then extrude them up. But you don't extrude them straight, you extrude them with a draft angle because you need that in order to be able to successfully pop out the mold. So it came to see that this isn't always straightforward in Fusion 360. Text can be a bit finicky. So students were having issues with getting the text to extrude with an angle in there. So I took a look at the question and then came about a way to address that. So I wanted to create this just a little quick content in case you ever have trouble with text and extruding them, that you have sort of this little trick that you can keep in your back pocket. All right, let's go ahead and get started. And I'm gonna just worry about the text here. I don't have to create the entire model. So I'll begin by creating a sketch on the XY plane here. And then I'm gonna go to create and then down to text. We'll zoom in a bit. And I'll just go ahead and create a text box. I'm gonna make that anywhere here. I'm just gonna create it sort of a general shape I want it to be. And the word here, so this actually, the question came from a teacher who runs a makerspace class, and she wanted to create these molds that said STEAM, you know, for science, tech, engineering, math, and art, or art and math. So here's what we had. The text made the height 12 millimeters. Not gonna get too particular fancy with the font here. I'm gonna just stick with Arial, click OK. And then we can go ahead and click on Finish Sketch, E for Extrude, select our text there. And I went with a distance of 2 millimeters and a taper angle of -3. So we'll go ahead and hit Enter. And so here's the problem that we were getting. Only the E and the M worked, and in some cases none of the letters worked. If I bring that sketch back into view, we see S, T, and A does not work. So I thought about this for a while and just sort of experimented. I'm gonna go back to my timeline here, just double click to get into the sketch again, and then I tried something different. So I'm gonna double click that letter. This is kind of just troubleshooting. You're just, you know, trying stuff and see what clues you can get. So the first thing I did is change the STEAM from lowercase to uppercase and see what happens. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to click OK and then finish that sketch. And now we get something a little bit different, a little more success here. So everything was able to extrude except the S, right? And if I go to a top view here, we can see that we get that taper angle. You can see how it tapers. It's wider at the base here and gets shorter at the front. We can even verify that. If I click, you see that this is 1.588 millimeters. If I select the top, that's 1.3. So our taper angle was working fine, but the S is not working. So then I thought about, well, like what is the difference here between the S and the rest of the letters? And one thing I see is just that curvature, right? S is mainly a curved shape, and all these other letters have straight lines. So I think Fusion has a hard time creating that S body and going ahead and doing that taper angle there. So, okay, so some more troubleshooting. So I thought, okay, let's go back to that sketch. Why don't we try, I'm gonna right click. If double clicking isn't working for you, you can always, when you wanna go back to amend the timeline, you can always just right click and choose edit sketch, and it'll bring you back to that sketch. Okay, one thing I know we can do is we can explode text, right? So I can right click anywhere on the selected text and go down to explode. Now, when you explode a text, it allows you to go ahead and select each profile individually. So you can extrude these, for example, at different heights, but it basically treats them as their own profile. So let's try that. E for extrude. I'm going to select each profile here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go a distance of 2 millimeters, taper angle of -3, and click OK. Again, same issue. Everything extrudes except the S. All right, so now let's kind of use some of the tools we have to try to address this separately. So it's obviously not going to extrude by just doing a taper angle from the extrude feature. So, okay, so here's the solution I came up with. And that involved creating basically a sketch on an offset plane and then using the loft tool. And I'll show you how I went about this. So I'm gonna click on that white space to deselect everything. I'm gonna create a sketch. I'm gonna create it on top of the T profile here, just because it's gonna save me a step from creating an offset plane. I can simply use that, the top plane of that T as where I wanna create my sketch. Okay, so now let's get some information here. I want to know the distance between this edge and this edge here. So what I'm going to do is project those edges into the plane. And it's important that they be projected on that same plane so it gives me a straight dimension. Otherwise, you might be trying to get a dimension between the bottom and the top, and that's not going to work. All right, P for project, and we're just going to project these two edges here. Click OK, and then click Inspect. And I'm just going to select the two of them again, and it should give me a distance. So if I zoom in, actually I deselected, so let's try that one more time, this and this. We see that distance here, 0.105, we can also see it here, 0.105. So let's just go ahead and call that 0.1. So that's 0.1 distance difference between that bottom edge and the top edge on a horizontal plane. All right, now that I know that information, I'm going to go ahead and click P again to project, and I'm going to project the outline of my S here. Now, here's something important to note. Notice you have this option here for projection link. You're going to want that unchecked. Now I can simply double click, it'll select the entire chain. Click OK, and now that we have this, you'll also notice that it's blue instead of purple when you unclick that projection link, meaning you can come in and modify this. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and go to Modify, down to Offset. Click on the line here to select it. It gives us the entire selection. And I'm just going to enter the offset, which I want this to be, which is that distance I measured between these two lines. And that was 0.1. And now I have, you see the line goes inwards. If it's going in the opposite direction you want it to go, just click on this little flip button here. But that's what we want, 0.1. So I'm going to click OK. I have an offset there. And just to make this easier to extrude or to loft later to select our profile, I'm going to double click to select the entire chain of that outer profile, hit X on my keyboard, and that's going to make it a construction line. Click Finish Sketch, and now we can simply go ahead and create a loft. So I'll go to Create, down to Loft, select my bottom profile here, and then select that top profile. And we're going to click OK. And yeah, you may have noticed that didn't quite work, but that's okay. Don't give up quite yet. So let's go back and edit that loft feature on our timeline. All we have to do here is change the tangent edges from merge to keep. Now watch what happens. That does it. That does the trick. And there it is. And that gives us our shape here. If I go to a top view, you can see the difference here. Between that bottom edge and then how it tapers to the top edge, or that top surface I should say, to give us a smaller profile, essentially giving us that taper angle. Okay, and that's how you would solve this particular issue. So if you're looking to extrude text and you want that taper angle, especially if you're doing things like molds and you need that draft angle, you may find that just simply trying to extrude it and giving it a taper angle may not always work, but now you have one additional tool in your toolbox that you can resort to. All right, if you enjoyed the format of this quick Fusion 360 tutorial, make sure to subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. And if you're new to Fusion 360 and want a quick, very structured course to get up and running, check out my quick start course down below. I've also included a link to my Fusion 360 constraints cheat sheet, something you definitely want to have and save to your desktop or print and put it by your computer as a great resource to consult when you're designing. All right, guys, I will see you soon with another video.